Hi everyone, Meteorologist Patrick Crawford here with another segment of Weather Undefeated. And this week we are talking about professional archery. Joining me now, Matthew Requa, a professional archer, with more information on how the weather impacts the sport of archery. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us on Weather Undefeated. I'm very curious about the sport of archery and how weather impacts that sport. So can you kind of take us through what the sport of archery is? Of course, we're talking about outdoor archery and just how important it is to know the weather forecast when you're in an event or you're out there practicing. How important is that forecast?
It can be very important. Wind will mostly affect actually the archer more than anything, because you're being blown around and you're trying to keep, your sight on target at a distance of 70 meters on a 122 centimeter face. So we're trying to hit a dollar bill at 70 meters or 76.55 yards. So being blown around in the wind, and then you have to count for your arrow drift. And then if it's raining, you have to account for your arrow drop from hitting raindrops as it goes through the air. It can be a headache to try to figure this out. And all we get to help us is a windsock at 30 meters and a little dinky flag on top of the bay.
And that was going to lead into my next question. I was wondering if you're able to see what all the current conditions are. Maybe you have your own personal anemometer. Is that allowed? Are you able to do that? Or you have to use what they provide with you out there at the event?
You're allowed to use whatever you want before you step up to the line. You can use your phone, you can use an anemometer, you can use whatever you want. But once you step in front of or onto the shooting line, you're not allowed any electronic devices whatsoever.
And you did mention how rain can be a factor. I wouldn't have even really thought about that. So take us through a day of an event. You've got a big event coming up, a big tournament, whatever it is that you're doing that day. How often are you looking at that weather forecast?
I usually start looking out about a week or two in advance to see, weather conditions, if it's going to be hot, cold, rainy, windy, snowy if you're up in Pennsylvania somewhere. And then as it gets closer, you try to nail down the forecast so you know to bring a rain jacket, to bring cold weather gear, hot weather gear, sunscreen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you just try to practice your best in those conditions. But you're never going to get the exact wind conditions at home. But some places will have winds that just spiral differently. So you can't even, from arrow to arrow, have consistent wind conditions. And for rain, it just makes your string wet, and that will slow down the string. You'll lose grip on the bow itself.
I'm curious, has there been a time when you're up there, you're pulling back on the arrow, you're kind of in your head estimating the wind and your distance and all of that, and then right when you're about to release that arrow, maybe the wind gusts a little bit, there's a little change in the wind direction, and then your arrow just goes completely one way or the other? Has that ever happened?
Oh, all the time, especially in where it's just swirling or it's just getting very gusty. What we do is we pick our spot on the target where we want to aim, and then just pick that spot and go, shoot your shot, and hope that a wind gust doesn't blow you off. We've shot in 50-mile-per-hour winds. We've shot in 0-mile-per-hour winds, 110-degree heat to 45-degree heat. Luckily for us, it's in the summertime, so we don't usually deal with snow.
This is all just very fascinating. We appreciate you joining us on this segment of Weather Undefeated. You did a great job answering all my questions, Matthew. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.